Hello everyone, Salena here, Salena Baca Crochet. It's Monday, and not only do I love mingling on Mondays, but I love answering any questions that you guys have. So today, what I wanted to do was answer some questions that have been posted in my group. I'm just going to go in order. I'm going to read them and just kind of answer them and give my best feedback and advice. And anything that I mention, if there's a resource or anything further, I'm going to post it in the video description and leave something in the comments. All right. So if you guys are here and you're digging this, please let me know by coming on over, saying, hey, hello. And if you guys have any crochet questions, feel free to ask them here. Okay. Because if I still have time after I go through these questions that have been posted in my group already, I'll go on ahead and go through those. Okay, so at the very least, I'll be giving some shout outs. I do want to mention that this is streaming live on Facebook. So if you are watching on Facebook and you see something pertaining to Facebook stars, and you totally dig this video and you think it's awesome and you want to support my work, if you want to send some stars, I will give you some extra special shout outs while we're here live. Okay? All right, guys, so what I did was I posted and asked me anything about crochet, and I did have to specify about crochet because if I didn't say about crochet, I was getting all kinds of questions. So I narrowed it. I don't know everything about everything, all right? So it says, ask me anything about crochet, and what I like to do is just have these live chats so that I can answer those questions. So if you're not in my group, come on over and join. It's group:/Salena Baca Crochet. You can find it linked to this Facebook page, or I will tag it in the comments and the video description so that you guys can find it today. Okay? So the first question that I see here is from Bonnie. And is it the first question? I'm going to try to answer them in order. I think I'm reading them in the wrong order. So I want to answer them in order. Okay? So the first question that I see is from Sue, and Sue asks a question that I don't have an answer to. So I'm going to do some additional research, and I would love to hear from you guys if you guys know, okay? So Sue says, do you know how to do Norwegian crochet? She says that crochet that looks like knitting. I have to say, and I'm reading all of these with you guys, so I haven't done any research. I don't have a script. I'm literally just reading the questions. So you get what you get. So one, I've never heard of Norwegian crochet. I've heard of Fair Isle crochet, which is a type of color work. And really it's just how what you do with the unused color if you're changing color a lot. So I don't know if Norwegian and Fair Isle is synonymous sometimes, but she does say crochet that looks like knitting. I do know that there are a few types of crochet stitches that do look like knitting, but there's a ton to mention. Just for example, working a half double crochet stitch, but working all of your next rows or rounds in the third loop of the half double crochet on the back side, it does make the front and the back loops of that half double kind of pop out. So it does kind of give this mock ribbing look. Just for example, there's also a split single crochet. I've never done it. It's something that's on my crochet bucket list I want to try, but that also kind of looks like knitting. And with that, I am not a knitter, so I don't have anything further to add of crochet that looks like knitting, but I know that there's tons of just different stitch techniques and variations that look like knitting. But again, Norwegian crochet, that's new to me. So if anybody has some advice or feedback, let me know in the comments, okay? Because that's new to me. Maybe we'll all learn something new. Okay, next question is from Melissa. And Melissa says, how can you substitute yarn weight in a pattern? For example, can you use a size 3 weight instead of a size 4 by holding 2 strands? Yarn substitution it's a little more complicated than that, but it's simple once you understand kind of how it works. Let me show you. Let me show you a little, actually, I just found this and I put it over here. This is one of my favorite kind of little yarn cheat sheets, if you will. Okay, so let me answer that by really taking my time. I've got a lot to say on this, okay? So first and foremost, let's talk a little bit about yarn substitution, and really that conversation starts with understanding yarn. So yarn, commercially speaking, if you go to the store and you buy yarn just off the shelf, You know, yarn is made from weight 0 all the way to weight 7. That's what you're going to find in most stores that you go into. And most crochet patterns are probably going to be written for one of these yarn weights, okay? So it really depends on what you're making in terms of whether or not it can be substituted. Let's say, insert crochet pattern somewhere. I have nothing here I can show you, but okay. Let's say you're crocheting something and it's size specific. You're making a hat for a 2-year-old or an adult man, or you're making a sweater and you want it to be a size medium and not a size extra small or extra, extra large. So if size matters, then whatever material you use is going to matter. And you can't really muck around with the substitution too much. You can't take a lot of liberties in terms of substitution. You really have to get the exact size, okay? Here are just the sizes of yarn, okay? And that's from weight 0 to 7. Within this, this does not mean that just because a yarn is a weight 3, that every single weight 3 yarn is going to be this exact same diameter, because it's not. Different manufacturers use different materials and they have different construction methods. So that's why we have subcategories, okay? So just because a yarn is a weight 3, it might be a weight 3 DK, it might be a weight 3 light worsted. What does that mean? Okay, we use something called wraps per inch in the yarn world, okay? And what that means is to really understand where a yarn falls within this particular category, you take a strand of yarn and you wrap it around over a 1-inch area. And however many times you can wrap it, that's its wrap per inch. So for example, light 3, number 3, lightweight yarn, if a yarn can be wrapped between 12 and 14 times, it falls within that category. So if you can wrap it 12 times, it's probably a DK. If you can wrap it 13 times, it's between a DK and a light worsted. If you can wrap it 14 times, it's probably a light worsted. So that's roughly how this works. So again, that's a lot of information. It's good to have this information to understand how yarn substitutes. So for example, if you're following a pattern, you're like, I want to make this sweater, it has to be a size medium, but for whatever reason, you're not using the yarn that the pattern calls for. Maybe you can't find it, it's discontinued, you just don't like it, you want to use something else. You really have to understand what you're substituting. So you have to first understand what the wrap per inch is for whatever yarn the pattern called for, and then try to find something that is very similar. Now, that's just the dimension of the yarn, so that whatever stitches you use, whatever stitches you create, whatever fabric you create, you're creating something that's going to be as similar as possible, if not an exact match to whatever the pattern states. So this is my, short story long on how to substitute yarn. First, you have to understand that there's different weights, and then you really have to understand that if size matters, because if you're making a pot holder, it doesn't matter if it's plus or minus an inch, you can do whatever you want, right? But if size matters, you really have to understand that whatever weight, whatever diameter of yarn the pattern calls for, you have to find something similar. So can you just double up sometimes? Sometimes, but you have to go with the wrap per inch. Can you just go one hook size larger or smaller? Maybe, but you have to go with the wraps per inch, and you should always make a gauge swatch to see if that matches, okay? All right, so hopefully that answered that question. If you guys have any questions about yarn substitution pertaining to Melissa's question and my answer, just let me know in the comments, okay? All right, on to the next one. And before I read the next one, I see lots of you guys have just joined. So if you're watching live, come on over, say hey, say hello. Don't be shy, okay? I'm answering crochet questions that have been posted in my group now. I'm just going in order. After I go through all these questions, I'm going to see who's here. I'm going to give some shout outs. And if I have time, I'm going to answer your crochet questions in the comments, okay? So if you have any, feel free to post them. Let's see. Okay, the next question is from Bonnie. And Bonnie says, do you recommend any particular hook, tapered versus inline? And then she also goes through some materials, metal, wood, resin, or plastic. I will be obtaining my bachelor's degree at the end of April and want to treat myself. I am considering furls as well as some hand turn hooks on Etsy. Would love to hear thoughts from others before I spend quite a bit of money. Well, first and foremost, Bonnie, congratulations on almost getting your bachelor's degree. That is just amazing. And I hope it was a great experience, and congratulations to you on that. Now, I will say about crochet hooks, let me just give you a rundown of crochet hooks and some things to look for, because every individual person has their own opinion on what crochet hook is best or is most comfortable or is the best one to use, right? It is a very personal thing. So what I will say is, for example, my very favorite crochet hooks are Susan Bates. It's a brand. And I'll tell you why I like them as I kind of go through some of the anatomy, but I'm using this hook as an example. I like Susan Bates, and I like aluminum hooks. Those are my personal favorite. I would suggest, before you just dive into maybe handmade or really expensive crochet hooks, what I would suggest to you is go to any craft store or even go online and just look at two major brands, okay? The two major brands I want you to look at are Susan Bates and Boye, B-O-Y-E. Now, the reason I'm telling you to look at those two first is that you can find them in most craft stores, and they're like maybe $2 or $3 each, maybe. I just bought this one yesterday. It was $2.50, and I had a 20% coupon, so it was super cheap. So the reason you want to start with those two brands is because all crochet hooks essentially have the same anatomy. They go from here to here, you know, the head all the way down to the bottom. They've got a hook and they've got a thumb grip. You know, they all have the same basic anatomy. But there's a few key characteristics about crochet hooks that you may find you like more than other characteristics, okay? So there are a few key things to look for in a crochet hook. First and foremost, look at the head up here. Okay, that's the top. It's, you know, imagine it has a face. That's why I call it a head. So look at the top here. The top of the head will either be very pointy like this, or it will be rounded. Okay, some people don't like pointy crochet hooks because they say it makes the yarn split or it's harder to use or, you know, whatnot. I like pointed top crochet hooks. Those are my favorite. That's why I like Susan Bates style. So some other things to look for. You see the hook and the crochet hook. You see that kind of lip right there. Some lips are much more deep than others. For example, this is a very deep groove in here. I like a very deep groove because I feel that it holds my yarn better. Some grooves are very shallow, and some people like those more. Also, do you see how this let's call it a lip here, right? It's very pointed and it's kind of small. When you, and that's because this is a very, this is a very deep groove here, right? There's a lot of, you can really hold onto your yarn with that. But if you use a more shallow, if the crochet hook has a more shallow groove, it might also have, more material right here. So it's going to be, instead of that sharp point right there, it might be more of this kind of rounded, kind of gentle, like dip into the hook right here. So those are two main styles. Also, there are inline hooks. This is an inline hook because it has this, it tapers from right after the thumb. It tapers well into the hook. So that's one particular style. You may notice a difference, you may not. Also, when you're looking at the hook from the back, you can see that it's all the same width on either side, right? So really you can only tell a difference whenever you're looking at it from the side. There are also tapered crochet hooks to where this inline right here, it actually goes inline all the way around, so it's tapered all the way around. So how it looks right here is how it looks all the way around. You might enjoy that if you want even more space on the sides to really hold onto your yarn, which you may want because you've got a more shallow kind of hook right there. So those are some of the key characteristics about your crochet hook that maybe you favor one over the other. Again, this is a Susan Bates style for those reasons. Susan Bates styles are inline right here. They are not tapered on the sides. They do typically have a really deep groove. They do have a very pointy lip right there, and the heads are very pointy. So all of those things that I just said, the opposite is for boy. Boy is not my favorite. I love you, boy. Boy was my very first crochet hook. I have it right here. This is my very first crochet hook ever, believe it or not. It's like 35 years old, at least, right? So yeah, so already you can kind of see a difference between the two. I should have just done that to begin with. But yeah, see that? See? Yeah, a little bit of a difference. Anyway, these are two completely different hook styles, or hook sizes, but yes, also hook styles. So I suggest doing that first. If you're not sure what your favorite is, start with these economical versions in aluminum. And then as you go, you know what? I really like the pointy hooks, or I really like the rounded hooks. Then if you're going to Etsy or something like that to get something that's wooden or something else like that, you at least understand what hook characteristics are going to be more comfortable for you. I also recommend aluminum because whenever you're starting to crochet, you may have a really tight grip. You're not going to bend aluminum. It's going to be more, and it's very, very light. So it's going to be very light to hold, and you're not going to break it. If you use something like plastic or wood or resin, if you have a tight grip because you're learning, you could break your hook. So you might wind up spending, money on something that while you're learning, you could destroy it. So that's my advice. Again, congratulations on your bachelor's degree. Start with something inexpensive. These are my suggestions. Let me know what you think. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. I have one more question that I'm going to be answering in my group right here. And this last question is also from Bonnie. So I just answered her last question about crochet hooks. She says, one other question. I am new to crochet and have trouble reading patterns. I've watched several YouTube videos as well as Craftsy videos, but still find that patterns sound very confusing. I don't know anyone personally that crochets to ask, do you have recommendations or a class on learning to read and understanding patterns? Yes, I'm so glad you asked. So I'm going to send a few resources. First and foremost, I do teach a Learn How to Crochet class on Craftsy. So I'm feel confident that you haven't taken that class simply because if you did, I think that you would have a really solid foundation in terms of, reading and following crochet patterns, because that class is just so fine-tuned and it's very specific. So I'm first and foremost going to drop that link so that you can see that, okay? Next, I'm also the founder of the American Crochet Association. We have tons of resources there. So if you just want to watch a few very specific videos to learn things like pattern reading, then we've got some resources there that will help you. Okay? All right, so that's it. I only had a few questions this week. Again, this is something that I hope to do every week. So now that I've answered all these questions, I'm going to post a new Ask Me Anything, and it's going to be open for a week, and I'll do another one of these next week. I love these so much. Again, to everybody who is just now watching, come on over, say hey, say hello. The floor is open to ask any crochet questions that you might have. I didn't have a whole lot here, so I've got plenty of time to answer more. If you guys are enjoying this video, if you like the answers that I'm giving, go on ahead and hit that stars option here on Facebook. And that'll just let me know that you really appreciate this. Oh my gosh, so many questions here. It looks like we've got Christina is here from Oregon. Hello, I'm in Oregon. John is here watching. DePolly, so good to see you. Thank you for being here. Terry is watching. Hello, Terry Sampson. Angelica's here. Hi, Angelica. I just saw that you got my new book, Crochet Tops, and you posted a picture of my group. So thank you so much for that. And you said you got started right away on the Kobu top. So I'm so excited to see that. Keep us posted. Happy Monday to Polly. Hello, Angelica. Terry Robbins is watching. Hello, Terry Sampson. Janet from Missouri is here. Christina has got a question. She says, is herringbone a good stick? I think you mean stitch. I mistype things all the time, so I think that's what you're asking. Is herringbone a good stitch for a blanket? Can I use for a garment? That's entirely up to you. A stitch that I may like, or a yarn that I may like, or a pattern that I may like. You may go, I don't like that at all. So it's really hard to say. So if you've seen that stitch and you like it, go on ahead and swatch with it, you know, give it a try. And to see if you like it, because there are sometimes, for example, I'll see a stitch and I'm like, ooh, I love that pattern. I love that stitch. And then I try it and I'm like, I don't enjoy this. I don't want to make a whole blanket in this. It's boring, or maybe it's a little more complicated than my hands or my brain, you know, kind of likes or is used to. So try just a little swatch first to see. And then next, if you're like, I totally dig this, I love it, I want to make a blanket, or I want to make a garment, what I would do, if I were you, is I would immediately go on over to Ravelry, because you can search through patterns based on tons of different criteria. So for example, you can search the entire pattern database for things like, I want to use Hobby Lobby, I love this yarn, which is a weight 4. That's the exact yarn that I want to use, because that's what I used in my swatch with the herringbone stitch. I want to search for herringbone stitch, and I want to search through all the garments that are sweaters. I want to search through all the garments that are pullovers or poncho. You can get real specific. And that way you can see all the patterns that incorporate all those things, and you can kind of go from there to follow something that you enjoy. So that's my advice to you. Let me know what you think. Rebecca McFarland is here watching. Cheryl Hawk is here from Missouri. Thank you for checking in. Heather is here from Washington. Let's see. Janet is here. Dora is here watching. Cheryl Hawk, she says, I'm in Houston, 90 miles east of Springfield. Wendy's got a comment based on a previous question. She says, Tunisian can look like knitting. Yes, it can, actually. I forgot about Tunisian. It's something that I've tried a few times. It's not my favorite, but you're absolutely right. Tunisian crochet, you do need a Tunisian crochet hook because it is like knitting. A Tunisian crochet hook does kind of mimic knitting, and the stitches are more so like knitting stitches. So absolutely, Wendy. Good call. Thank you. Christina. Oh, Christina asked the same question here. So I just answered that on the herringbone. Let me know what you think. Oh, so many of you guys are just chatting with each other in the comments. I love that. So many of you guys are so friendly here. Donna Lombardo was watching. Cheryl Hawk. Oh my gosh, so many of you guys are like, you know, just chatting with each other. So I'm just seeing a lot of that. It's really cute. Rachel Ryan is watching. Sharon Osborne, she says, always love catching you live. I'm glad. I hope you enjoyed this chat today. Heather, she says, so agreed. I love trying all the hooks. Yeah, I do too. Although I will say my vast 95% of my hooks are Susan Bates. So the only variation that I like to my Susan Bates hooks are the grips. So I do go to Etsy and I buy like the polymer clay hooks. I don't have any right here. They're all in my fancy bin over there. Or Susan Bates just started coming out with these longer grip styles. So that way it's just more to hold on to. And it just feels slightly different than metal in your hand. So those are the variations that I like. You know, I know what hook I want, but if I want a variation, it's going to be what's on the bottom, what kind of grip it has. So that's what I do. Some other hooks that I own, like I said, I have boy hooks. I do have a few Furls hooks, and I will say that I really like their plastic ones. And they're not very expensive in terms of, you know, really craftsman kind of crochet hooks. I think I've spent a little over $20 per hook, and I think I have 3 or 4. But I find them very comfortable, and even though they're that plastic resin, I find that they're really durable. However, I buy those hooks in the larger sizes just because the metal hooks, the larger they get, when you start getting into like, you know, size P and stuff like that, you know, the really big ones, like this is an M. Those really big ones, you know, the metal can be just a tiny bit heavier. So I find that the larger hooks, I'll get them in plastic, I'll get them in furls, and it's just that much more comfortable for me to use. Let's see. Janet loves Susan Bates. Angelica loves Susan Bates. Cheryl Hawk says, I always use Susan Bates, but because of arthritis, I've switched to furls. Oh, that's good to know. Thank you. Joyce is watching. Angie B is watching. Heather Ross says, I love Susan Bates too, but my sister likes boy. I have both. Susan Bates are hard to find near me. Oh, interesting. Sharon Osborne, she says, I've always liked Bates hooks, but finding I prefer larger diameter handle or for hand comfort. She says, just ordered some Prim hooks. Looking forward to trying them. I've never heard of Prim hooks. So as soon as you get those, come on over to my group because, you know, people can post their own content there. So, you know, share a picture and let us know what you think about those hooks because I've never heard of them. I'd love to hear what you think. Let's see. Cheryl orders her Susan Bates online from Joann's. Yeah, I just got my Susan Bates hooks yesterday from Michael's. That's where I was. I was at Michael's Craft Store. Angelica says, I bought furls, love the wooden ones best. Took a little to get used to the different handle, but now it's easier on my arthritis. That's good to know. Thanks for that review. All right, I'm still looking for shout outs and any questions that you guys might have because I'm going to be answering those as long as I'm here live. Janet says, I'm using their Streamline resin, not too heavy. I think you're talking about furls, and yes, I agree. I've got a few of those. Let me get them. Hold on. I'll be right back. Yeah, I've got a few of those. I've got two up here that I see. So yeah, I've got an I hook and a P hook. And not only are they really beautiful, but like I said, you know, this larger hook, it's so much, you know, it's got a lot for me to hold on to right here in the middle, and then it kind of comfortably fits in my hand. This is the way I hold my crochet hook, like it's a knife, like I'm hacking away at my yarn. But yeah, I find these very comfortable. So yeah, and very pretty. And that makes a difference too, I think. Hello, Amy McKeever. So good to see you. Thank you for saying hey. Cheryl Hawk says, I have some of the wooden Streamline and some of the resin Streamline. Heather Ross, she says, oh man, I have broken my hook before. Yeah. So I thought it would be cute, and now I know better, right? I thought it would be cute to use. You know, I had a few wooden hooks, bamboo crochet hooks. I had a few plastic crochet hooks because I thought they were cute, right? And they were a little more bendy. They're, you know, again, whenever you're holding something metal, even when it's smaller, so even when you're using something super small like an F hook, you're not going to bend it. It's not pliable, right? But if you're using something like wood or plastic, especially when it's smaller, it's going to be much more pliable and it's probably going to break, which was the case with me. So I have had bamboo crochet hooks before. I personally didn't like the ones that I had. I won't say, I'm not going to make a blanket statement and say bamboo is terrible. But what I did find is, you know, in the lip and the groove, because it was bamboo and just because of the way it was cut, I had to file mine with a nail file just to make it smooth. So it was never like all the way smooth. Like my yarn would kind of like not snag in it, but I could tell that there was a difference. So I had to, you know, get a nail file in there. And then I did break a bamboo crochet hook. And that's when I was like, you know what? It's just not fun. Not fun for me. Rebecca, she says, I love watching these shows because I learn so much. I'm so glad. Thank you. Heather Ross says, oh, nice. Angie B is still watching. Donna Lombardo is watching. Rebecca McFarland. Julie is watching. So many people are watching and no questions or hellos. So I see that you're here, so I'm giving you shout outs. Heather Ross is here. Terry C. Shalina is watching. Bonnie, hi. I was just answering your questions, Bonnie. She says, just joined in. Hate that I missed the opening, but I'll watch the entire video. Here from Columbia, South Carolina, and just got my books. Bonnie, I'm so glad you just joined. Yes, definitely go back and watch from the beginning because you had some fantastic questions that you posted in my group that I just answered here. So go back and watch and let me know what you think. And I definitely have some follow-up resources for you. Heather Ross, she says, I always say give it a try. Yeah, give it a try, especially with crochet hooks. Heather says, I love to make washcloths out of new stitches. Yeah, I don't always make washcloths. I make a lot of swatches in my line of work. I write patterns and I teach. So I just have like bins of swatches, but I've got like, here's stitches, here's patterns, here's joins or different techniques. So I have them all separated. But whenever I'm trying out a new stitch, that goes in the stitch pile. And I never intend to make anything out of them. Like I don't need them to then, you know, be a blanket or be a washcloth or anything really functional. Because for me, I go back to that bin time and time again. Because if I like a stitch, then that stays in my stitch bin. So that's kind of one of my stitch encyclopedia resources. Hello, Melissa from Utah. Good to see you. Angie, she says washcloths for swatches is a great idea. Absolutely. And I hear a lot of people do that, you know, because they're like, well, I can't just make a swatch. I need to make something with it. And again, in my line of work, I need to kind of reference my swatches. But if you're doing something like just to try something one time and then do something else, you can either frog it. You're like, okay, I tried it. I like it. I'm ready to go. You can either frog it and you know, not have this extra thing, or yeah, you can go, I really like this stitch. I want to try it with something. Maybe I'll make a washcloth. The one thing I'll say about that, Angie B, is that if you always intend to try a new stitch or learn a new stitch with a washcloth, washcloths are made with cotton yarn. We make them with cotton yarn because, you know, they wear better. They, you know, it washes better. You know, it's going to dry better. Cotton is just a better material if it's going to be used in the bathroom or the kitchen. So the reason I'm mentioning that is that cotton will look very different and will swatch very different and feel very different than maybe an acrylic or, you know, a wool blend. So, you know, really consider what material you're using as well. I'm not saying cotton's bad. I'm just saying that it can be really deceiving. It can make stitches look bigger. It can make fabric look bigger. And depending on the cotton, you may go, I don't like this stitch, but maybe it's not the stitch. It's just the material you're using. So, and you know, if I don't know what I'm doing with a stitch, I typically go with an acrylic yarn just because I can better get an understanding and a feel for not only the stitch, but the fabric that it's making. So just a little thing I'll pass on. Let me know what you think. Lori Younger is here. Hey, Lori Younger. So good to see you. Angie B, she says, hey, from Texas, the weather is trying to kill us right now. I know that's making like global news. I hope you just stay warm and dry, and I hope everything in Texas just is fixed soon. That's just terrible. It really is. Janet, she says, glad you like us making friends. Of course. Crochet is community and, you know, anywhere you are. So anytime crochet is equaling community or, you know, just kind of giving you a place to feel like it's community, even if it's on a live video like this, I love it. It's fantastic. Melissa says, I make homemade grips with foam and packing tape. Girl, I need to see some pictures. I got to see this. That sounds really cool. Yeah, you're going to have to show us that. Angie B says, I have a variety of hooks, love them all for different yarns. Yep, I hear a lot of people say that too. Rebecca McFarland, she says, I have so many now in various styles and materials now, been trying them all. Always seem to come back to Clover and the Susan Bates with new handles. See? And sometimes it just takes giving it a try. You never know what you're going to like. And, you know, there's a lot of different variables to that. You know, what material feels better in your hand, how you hold your hook, how you hold your yarn. You know, so just try things until you feel that something is comfortable for you. Angie B, she says, I bought a couple of big plastic ones from Furls for the same reason. The same reason as I said. Melissa, she says, am I the only one who likes boy? Probably not. Probably not. I'm sure lots of people like boy. You're not alone. Wendy, she says, polymer clay shed. Yes, that's where I get my hooks. She says, polymer clay shed are my favorite. I'm too heavy-handed for furls and break them. I agree. That's where I get a lot of my crochet hooks from Etsy. I like polymer clay shed and then polymer clay creations. I think I found them both on Etsy, and I have hooks from both of their shops. I think they're fantastic. Amy McKeever says she likes boys style hooks. Janet says the resin hooks are longer and more comfortable. That's what she thinks. Good feedback. Heather, she says those are pretty hooks. The Furls ones, yeah, this lighting isn't even doing it justice. These are very pretty hooks. Very pretty. That's another reason I had to try them out. Lori Younger, she says, I like the metal with color I can't read it all. I'm looking right at the words and my brain won't read them. I like the metal with color handled furls. I like the shape. The weight took a bit to get used to. The resin ones are nice as well, but one broke when it fell. They replaced it, but their replacement policy changed since then. The metal ones are more sturdy. Yeah, I drop things, so I wouldn't have thought about that, you know, kind of dropping something that is plastic and it breaking. I remember that happening to you, Lori, so thank you for telling us that. Yeah, if you're clumsy, like me, then maybe metal should be your jam too, and that way you're really not going to break it. Rebecca McFarland, she says chronic crochet cheek. Chic? I don't know why I can't read today. I think you're saying that that's a brand. I'm not sure. Crochet Styles makes handmade resin hooks with ergonomic handles. So nice because thicker, smoother grip to handle. Yeah, if you guys have a favorite crochet hook brand or style, post a picture in the comments or post a link so we can go and check them out. Because there's tons of different brands and styles. So sometimes it's really helpful to maybe have a starting point, but then, you know, see what else is available so you can see what other kinds of hook brands and styles could really fit your needs. So I'd love to see that. Amy McKeever, my favorites are the beautiful resin hooks from Crochet. Chic? Is that what it is? I've never heard of this. She says more of a boy style than a Susan Bates like furls. I've never heard of that. So you guys are teaching me new things. I don't know about this. Somebody's going to have to link me or share a picture. Shalina says, I had Addie and love them. Addie's another brand. I've never tried them though, but I've heard about them. Lori says, I find the wood ones don't seem to glide the yarn as well. I was talking about bamboo just a little while ago, and I was talking about the groove and how that was not as smooth. So I will agree with you on that. Heather says, I like bamboo knitting needles better than the crochet hooks. Wendy says, Clover are popular in OZ. Felicia, she says, it seems I caught you live. Woot. Woot. I can't read today. I'm sorry. I think it's the end of the day. Just my eyes are tired. If you're in my group, you know this. I've been on a granny square kick lately because this month at the American Crochet Association, we're going to be focusing on all things granny square. So I've been totally inspired to come up with new patterns to try granny squares, right? So this morning I woke up, actually I was kind of test swatching last night. I had an idea and I was kind of making all these swatches. I was crocheting for a couple hours. And this morning I woke up and I was like, I know what I'm going to make. So at 7 this morning, I started crocheting this new thing that I'm going to share with you guys in my group. It's soaking wet and it's blocking right now. It's not soaking, but it's wet. It's blocking right now. I was going to take a picture, but I was like, no, this thing needs a little bit of help. Because it's a lot of granny squares and, you know, different motifs joined together, you know, they need help sometimes. So hopefully it'll be dry by tomorrow and I can take a picture of it, and share it with you. So anyway, I've been on this granny square kick and, why am I telling you this long story? I had a point. Anyway, I started crocheting this. That's why I'm tired. That's why I can't remember anything. I started crocheting this at 7:30 this morning. I of course took a shower, ate breakfast, you know, rested a little bit, but I finished the design at 3:30. So I crocheted for like probably a good 6.5, 7 hours today, but so so like my eyes are tired. It's hard to read. Like my body's tired. I feel mentally and physically exhausted. But excited because it turned out great. There's nothing like crocheting something and putting all that time and effort into it. It's something to wear. And then I put it on and I was like, yes, it fits me. I'm so proud. I might have done that. Yeah. So anyway, that's why I'm kind of tired today. That's why I can't read. That's why I started a story and started rambling and forgot what I was telling you guys. Let's see. Cheryl Hawk, she says, I agree. However, the wood works better with some yarns than the resin and vice versa. I hear you. Angie B, she says, where can I buy your new book? my new book, Crochet Tops. It's been out for a week today. You can find this book, my friend, anywhere books are sold. If they are not selling this book, like your local craft store or a local bookstore, then ask them to get it, okay? Also, I have all the patterns listed on Ravelry, so check me out on Ravelry. I will post a link here. You can find all of the designs. You can see every single one of them with detailed information on each one of them, and it includes a link to find this on Amazon. I know a lot of people buy books on Amazon, but really you can just do a Google search, and anywhere books are sold, you should be able to get this. So, yay! Thank you for asking. Thank you. I hope you love it, Angie B. Let's see. Heather Ross, she says, OMG, how cool. I am thinking I need a stitch bin with the texture. Cool. Yeah, I definitely, again, that's how my brain works. That's what I do with the swatches that I make. And those are the swatches that I like. So if it's a swatch that I don't like the stitch, or if I don't like the yarn, I'm not keeping it. So I only keep the stitches and the swatches and the techniques and the color. So color changes, anything like that. I'm saying color change because here's another swatch. I wanted to try different color change techniques. So here's a swatch of something that is going in my keep, but this is going in my technique pile. So yeah, that way when I'm kind of going through my technique pile for ideas, I can go, oh yeah, I tried that color change method and I really liked it. So I have a technique pile, I have a pattern pile, and I have a stitch pile. So there you have it. All right, it looks like Jerry Sue Tinker, my friend, just sent 150 stars because she's digging this video and she wants to support my work. So Jerry Sue Tinker, thank you so much for sending 150 stars. High five. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. I don't see any other questions. Oh, here's one. Kim says, could you recommend cheap cotton yarn? Cheap as in price. It depends. There's actually most cotton yarns, I think, in my opinion, are pretty economical in price. So it depends on what you want to do with that cotton yarn because there's different kinds of cotton yarns. So do you want to make tote bags and washcloths? If so, you can go with something that's pretty sturdy and pretty stiff, right? Because you want those to really last and hold up. Do you want cotton yarn to make shawls or t-shirts, summer tank tops, stuff like that? Then if so, you're going to want to go with a softer cotton yarn, maybe a Pima cotton, like a really luxury cotton, right? Because you don't want it to be stiff. You want it to be sturdy, but you also want it to be soft, right? So in that case, you know, what kind of cotton yarn do you want? What do you want to make? I will say most cotton yarns that I find either in stores, and I'm talking Joann's, Michael's, even Walmart, they'll have cotton yarns, different kinds of cotton yarns. So really the stiff and sturdy kind that you make washcloths and tote bags out of. But I've even seen some more luxury, softer cotton yarns that you can make those shawls and wraps and summer tops and things like that with. And so far, all the yarns that I've seen just in stores like that, Walmart, Hobby Lobby, Joann's, Michael's, they're pretty economically priced. If you want to look online, I've tried yarns from Knit Picks that are cotton, fantastic, and I thought they were priced really well. Same thing with Yarnspirations. I've used probably all of their cotton yarns. I think they're fantastic. Lion Brand's another one. They have some cotton yarns. They're always changing them, and I think that they're priced pretty well too. So I don't think I found a cotton yarn I haven't liked, and so far all the ones from all the places I've mentioned, I think that they're pretty economically priced as well. Oh, Angie B says, good tip about the cotton for swatches. Yes, yes. That's my tip for you. Felicia, when I try a new stitch, I make cloths and drying mats and other household things. Yeah, so if you want to turn it into something, if you're like, I'm not just going to swatch just this way. If I'm crocheting something, it's going to do something. Then think about what you want it to do. And again, be mindful that cotton is stiff and it sometimes creates looser fabric without a lot of give. and that's not going to be as flattering for every single stitch that you try. So it could be a little misleading. It's going to give you something that you can use, but you may feel like, I don't really like this. For example, I will say, you know, in terms of washcloths, if I'm like, I want to learn cables, I want to make big, thick cables in crochet, and you know what, while I'm doing this, I'm going to just go ahead and make a washcloth. I think that would be really deceptive, because making cables with cotton yarn, it's going to look loose, it's going to look sloppy, especially when you're doing it the first time, so it's going to be really deceptive. So if I were making crochet cables for the first time, I would use something with a little bit more bounce in it, something that's a little more pliable, a little lighter. So I definitely would. I'd use like an acrylic, because that's going to give me a better stitch definition. It's just going to make the fabric look much more appealing. So definitely think about that as well. Let's see. Who else? All right, I'm looking for final questions, comments, feedback, anything like that. So I'm just scrolling through, just scrolling. I wish there was like a next. I wish I could like tap a button or something, but I got to scroll. Again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart to Jerry Sue Tinker for sending me 150 stars here. That's a new thing, you know, that Facebook is doing to help support content creators like me. So I appreciate it. Thank you. She says, you deserve them. Thank you, lady. I appreciate it. Lisa Wickersham is watching. Hello, so good to see you. Elaine is watching. Monica Mercado. Rebecca McFarland is still here. Thank you, lady. Cheryl Hawk, she says, love crafts. Again, that tired is coming in again. She says, has paint box yarn and cotton. I've never tried paint box. So if you guys have pictures and a review, let me know. I'd love to hear. Angelica McKinney is watching. Lena Ritchie is here. Heather Ross says, thank you, my pleasure. Angie B says, what's a good cotton blend? Great question. And that goes back to everything that I just said about cotton. It just depends on what you want to do. I've seen acrylic cotton blends. I've seen cotton bamboo blends, cotton wool blends. I mean, there's so many different kinds. So it really depends on what it is that you want to make. At the American Crochet Association, we teach that yarn has characteristics. And if you're thinking about using, if you're thinking about, you know exactly what you want, you know, then think about what characteristics that fiber or that fabric should have. Should it be soft or should it be stiff? Should it be scratchy or should it be sturdy? You know, what are you looking for? Because cottons definitely have a spectrum in terms of feel and how they work, right? So it depends on what you want to make, and then that will determine what kind of blend and how much you're spending and things like that. Because, for example, there's some really nice premium cotton yarns that that are a little more expensive because they're beautiful and they're luxurious and they feel soft, right? And they have an excellent drape and they cascade and they feel wonderful. And those are going to be great for like a really nice big shawl or a dress or a t-shirt, right? That kind of yarn, can you use it for a tote bag? Maybe. But it's like those two things are not the same thing. Now, the yarn that I would use for a tote bag, I want it to be stiff. I want it to be sturdy. Maybe even a little scratchy. I want it to be durable. Those are not going to make a good tank top. It's because it's not going to, it's just going to look like a wet paper bag. It's just going to be stiff and sturdy. You know, it's not going to have any kind of movement to it. So it depends on what you want to make, Angie B. That's what I got for you. Sorry, it's not a more definitive answer, but if you know what you want to make, then I can give you more definitive answers. Felicia, are there good left-handed ergo handles? I'm not sure. Crochet hooks are pretty universal though, I'd say. So whether you're holding a hook in your left hand or your right hand, I mean, it's pretty universal. So if you're looking for something super specific that will fit your hand in a very specific way, I'm not sure. I'm sure something could exist though. Heather, she says, cotton with milk protein is soft. I have never heard of that, but that sounds pretty interesting. Cheryl Hawk, she says, I'm left-handed and I really like furls, but they're more like Susan Bates. And that's why I like them. Angie B, she says cotton blend for a top. Okay, so I'm going to reverse engineer this a little bit further. If you want to design your own top, then definitely go with a cotton that is soft and it's going to cascade and it feels really nice, right? But if you're just looking for a top to make, I have a whole book full of ideas and yarn selections, and some of them are cotton that you can use. So you can try this first, but I will say, in all seriousness, if you find a yarn that you like and you're like, ooh, I want to make a top, go to Ravelry and search for patterns that use that yarn, because there may be quite a few patterns. You know, maybe everybody else is like, yep, this yarn needs to be a summer top. You know, most people who write patterns, they understand what the yarn is going to be great for. And so you're going to find a lot of things within that category. That's why some cotton yarns, it's like, wow, there's 9,000 projects and 8,999 of them are washcloths and tote bags. Must be a great yarn for washcloths and tote bags. And alternatively, there are some yarns that are very soft and cotton. And, you know, of the 500 patterns, you know, maybe 250 of them are summer tops. So again, if you find a yarn, go to Ravelry, see what everybody else is making with it. You're probably going to find some summer tops that you like. Or go to Ravelry and look for exactly what you're looking for, because there are tens of thousands of patterns there. So that's a great place to start. You can look for sleeveless tank tops that use the granny square stitch. And then you can probably find one. And then within that, whenever you find the exact design you're looking for, find that exact yarn, or as I talked about in the beginning of this video, substitutes. And now you've got some tips so that you can figure out how to do that. So let me know what you think, Angie B. Again, I gave you more questions than answers, but hopefully you'll in turn know that there are tons of questions. You know, it's more than just one. Like, what's a good cotton yarn to use? It's, you know, there's a few more questions in line before you find that. Or I want to make a crochet tank top. There's a few more questions in line before you can find your perfect crochet top using the perfect yarn. Angie B says, I will try one when I get your book. Please do. And I hope you love them. I really do. Jessica Millard is here. And the last thing that I see is that Lisa Wickersham is here watching. So on that note, guys, that is all I have for you guys. That's all she wrote. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this Mingle Monday. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, drop me some stars like Jerry Seuss Tinker did. If you found something interesting or valuable here, go ahead and leave me a comment to let me know. And if you thought that there was some pretty cool stuff in here, go ahead and share this video in just one place where you enjoy crochet, just to help spread the love, okay? Everything that I talked about, I'm going to be posting some information and some resources in the video description and also in the comments, okay? And again, if you want to put a crochet question out for me to answer in a video like this next week, come on over and join my group, because I'm going to be posting another Ask Me Anything crochet post in just a little bit. All right, guys, again, thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure to be part of the crochet community, and it's so nice to see you guys all getting along and making this a community. So peace, love, crochet. See you next time. Bye-bye.